All right, we covered a couple topics already. All right, volume is not power. Right, we talked about the house of cards, Psalm 52. David confronts a mighty man. Right, not with strength or his muscles, but into his soul. Right, these are like hollow giants. They dominate a room. Right, they demand a large presence, and they say, "Look at me. Look what I can do." Right, you guys are all dependent on me. But that's all manipulative. Real men don't rely on volume. It's like the example that I gave you earlier. Uh, I will reiterate it. The shorts on your phone, they're super distractive, right? They demand your attention. But you're on to the next one, on to the next one. They can't hold your attention. They only demand it. Right? It's like a candle that's screaming, right? A candle doesn't scream at the darkness. It just burns. Right? It burns until the shadows retreat on their own accord. When you look at a mountain, you aren't struck by its noise, you are struck by its size. It's so big, like I stated, Mount Everest soars through the clouds. It is not loud, but it is big. Okay, I mentioned the Tao Ching. The Tao Ching had a master that wrote that scripture. His name was Laozi. They say that he wrote it in one night before going to the West, and he was a respected master. But what he wrote reminds us that a master does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. True strength is like deep water. It is heavy, still, and entirely unconcerned about the surface ripples of public opinion. It's the difference between something that goes viral for a couple moments and something that sticks around. Something it's going to outlast the algorithm. Right? Just like thunder and lightning. Thunder demands your attention, but it doesn't do anything for the grass. It's the rain that feeds the grass. And the rain is a lot quieter than thunder and lightning. Thunder and lightning has its purpose, but it doesn't come around often. The world, right? We're all obsessed with thunder. When Elijah stood on the mountain, it was not the wind that shattered rocks, nor earthquakes or fire that consumed the bush. He was found in the still, small voice, in the quietness. Right? True authority and strength is comfortable in the quietness. Right? It's like the example I gave you earlier. It's like an app or a website that's been designed perfectly. But if the code is not good, the app is going to crash and burn. A tree that's been rotted to its core, all it takes is one storm and it's going to blow over. In the scriptures of Psalm 52, it describes a man who loves to use devouring words, deceitful words, more than the truth. He mistakes a sharp tongue for a sharp mind. The kind of power is a house of cards built on manipulation. It requires constant maintenance. The ever louder it boasts to keep from collapsing. While he trusts in abundance of his own riches and his ability to twist reality, he is actually starving. It has the appearance of a mountain, but only has the substance of clouds. Right? Think of it like this. It's like refreshing your follower count. Every few minutes, right? You're watching those numbers go up and down as if they define who you are. It feels like control, like influence, but that's fragile. One shift, one moment, and it all dips. And suddenly, you realize how exhausting it is to maintain something that was never meant to be stable to begin with. Your follower count or your views do not define who you are. Your mission is what defines you. You believe you can do something. You will make it happen. I promise you. You will be the mountain instead of the cloud. Think of it like a cheap car, right? With a modified muffler. It screams down the street, bop, 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 right? Rattling every window in the neighborhood, demanding everybody's attention. Sounds like a monster, right? You think, wow, that's probably really fast. But when the light turns green, it has no torque. It's just noise and no forward motion. Now compare that with an electric car, right? It's silent. It makes no noise. That a Tesla pulls up next to, a super loud stock Honda Civic. That Tesla's gonna smoke it with no noise. In the world that we live in, we are constantly distracted by the exhaust of people's egos. Proverbs reminds us, right? There's a passage in there that even a fool who is thought to be wise, if he keeps his mouth shut, real authority doesn't need to turn up the bass, right? You feel the vibration of its presence. It exists whether you acknowledge it or not. Some people don't have power. They just have volume. They have a large crowd that is not a loyal one, but one that will turn on him. It's like a living off of fast food. It's quick. They make it look really good, right? On those billboards and advertisements. Like, oh yeah, don't you want that Big Mac? Look how good it looks. But the ingredients, they're terrible. The problem is when you're eating that fast food because it's instantly satisfying you, is it's slowly draining the life out of you. It only fills you for a moment, but it never gives your body what it needs to actually sustain itself, to be strong. What you're feeding yourself starts to show. You will have health issues. It will come at a price. Jeremiah tells us the man who trusts in human strength is like a shrub in the salt flats. Right? The salt flats is uh where they go to do drag races out in the middle of nowhere, and it's like all flat, but there's nothing that grows there. Right? He is uprooted before the storm even arrives, because he has nothing to hold him down but his own ego. The one who is planted, the one with deep roots, that is a different story. They're like a stream next to a stream flowing that's next to a tree, right? They don't gasp for breath, right? When the heat comes, that tree that's been planted has found where the water flows. Their roots have traveled deep. One is a ghost of the wind, the other is the pillar of the earth. The uprooted man survives what he can grab from the surface, while the planted man thrives on what he receives from the depth. I'll give you an example. It's like a phone that dies halfway through the day because it was never charged overnight. You can try to put it in battery saver mode, dim the screen, close apps, but eventually it shuts down. Because the issue was never usage. It was the source. It was never plugged in to begin with. It was never able to charge all the way. But if you keep your phone plugged in, does it lose charge? No, of course not. It's the opposite, right? It charges. And it will always be ready. So you can use it then at full blast. Have a million apps open. It's never going to turn off so long as you keep it charged, right? I want you to picture something. I want you to imagine a hot desert noon. The air vibrates with heat, and the sand is a furnace that chars anything it touches, right? That sand is hot. Everything is turning to dust and bone, except for one tree. It stands impossibly green, cool to the touch. You can touch it. And utterly still. It doesn't scream at the sun or beg for clouds. It doesn't have to. Beneath the scorched earth, its roots have traveled so deep down through the dark, cold soil until they found the vein of the river that feeds it. While the surface is a graveyard, the depths are the sanctuary. This is the man who has ceased to look at the horizon for help and instead has anchored his soul to the eternal. The heat of life, the crisis, the betrayal, the sudden lack, cannot touch the sap in its veins because his life is the hidden source. That's water, by the way. It's like trying to cram for the final exam the night before when you ignored all the materials for that semester. In that moment of panic, it exposes that you neglected to prepare. You can't build depth under pressure, you reveal it. The heat is the heavy weight of the now. The deadliness, the expectations, and the frantic pressure to perform for an audience that doesn't care if you burn out. It's a slow, relentless glare that dries out the shallow soul. Then comes the drought, those long, silent seasons where the resources that you once relied on, the applause, the money, the easy comfort, simply vanishes. This is a test of the well. You cannot dig a well when you are already thirsty. You must have found water long ago. The storm, however, is the moment of exposure. It's the wind that tears away the decorative leaves, and the lightning that illuminates the landscape of your secret life. A storm doesn't create your character, it only reveals it. You're planted in the eternal. The storm is just a cleansing, it's the rain. If you are built on the surface, the storm is the end of the road. The hollow man fears the storm. The planted man is revealed by it. It's like arguing online with someone who only knows how to escalate. They get more tempting to match, right? It's tempting to just yell back, to match their tone. But you must sharpen your words and win the monument. By the end, nobody's better, just louder, angrier, and further from the truth. The warrior who forgets his sword is a victim. But the warrior who falls in love with his sword is also a monster. When we stand against the mighty man who boasts in his hollow strength, the temptation is to pick up his tools. We think that if he is loud, we must be louder. If he is cruel, we must be sharp. If he is deceptive, we must be shrewd. But when you fight a dragon with fire, usually you just end up burning the whole village, the whole town. True strength is the sword that is kept in your scabbard, your holster, until the moment of truth is revealed. It is the discipline of the mountain. It does not move for a storm. but it does not strike the clouds either. It simply is. To speak truth is to be the rock that breaks the wave. Stand firm is to be the anchor in the gale. But the moment you let your pulses match your anger, your enemy you have already surrendered to. You have to become the very thing you were meant to replace. It's like a building, right? A highlight reel instead of life, right? You're building posts, right? But those posts are curated, every moment filtered, every angle controlled. But no one of it can hold you when real life hits. Because performance can impress people, but it can't sustain a soul. A monument is a performance. It is carved in stone and demands your attention, a memory from people who will eventually forget your name. It stands in the town square, cold, rigid, terrified of the first crack in its marble. It is loud, expensive, look at me, that requires constant maintenance to keep from crumbling. But a root system, that is a secret. The work done in the dark. No one is clapping. No one's taking pictures. It is a slow, agonizing reach into the deep soil to find the water that never fails. The monument is built for the sunny day, but the root system is built for the midnight darkness. When the sky turns black, the monument is the first thing to fall, because it was only ever held together by its own vanity. The tree that survives because it spent all of its life preparing for the very thing it hoped it would never come continues on. Because no one will impress people for a moment, and the others will stay and be standing when everything else falls. It's like the difference between a trend and a fountain. One fades quickly, just as quickly as it arrived. The other remains long after the noise is gone. And in the end, only one of them can hold the weight of your life. The storm is not an enemy. It is a great revealer. It strips the paint from the monument. It leaves those hollow trees, makes them fall, leaving behind only what is true. We live in an age of loud men and shallow soil. The clinging to the ego is a mistaken for the heartbeat of God. But the mountain does not need to argue with the wind. It simply remains. It's like the difference between, if you spend your days building a facade for the world to admire, you will find yourself empty. When the heat arrives, if you do the secret, heavy work of sinking your roots to find that water, you will find peace. That the world cannot take that away from you. The mighty man boasts in volume, but the righteous man rests in his depth. I want to wrap things up. Uh, I know this has been a short one. I had technical issues in the beginning. So I thank you for bearing with me. And I hope that this message resonates with you. Okay. But before we close in prayer, I have a few questions for you. When the wind finally settles and the noise dies down, will you be found standing? Are you going to be carried away by the air you breathe? Are you going to be a hollow giant throughout your entire life? Are you going to be rooted into the dirt, unmoved by storms? Okay? Like I stated earlier, be the mountain. Don't be the cloud. Be the rain that feeds the planet. So I would like to close out in a prayer. Okay? So here we go. Dear Lord, I thank you for the water that sustains us. I thank you for being our river, our source of life. I hope that the rest of my brothers and sisters, that their roots reach deep and find you. For if they do, they will be nurtured. If they become the mountain, they will do your bidding. Guide them, help them, and look after them. Amen. Let me see. I got some messages, so let's see. Okay. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for your support over there on YouTube. That feedback was great. I didn't know I was having audio issues until you stated it. So thank you for that. You allowed me to be able to correct it. So that's God's plan, right? He sends the right people your way to help you correct your mistakes. For none of us are perfect, right? Thank you for joining the stream, guys and ladies. And God bless y'all. Have a great Sunday. Thank you.